On his lonely birthday, a little girl's amazing act of kindness revealed life-changing hope. Lily burst through the door, the crisp autumn air trailing behind her, invigorated by the sight of the setting sun splashing gold across the neighborhood. As she kicked off her sneakers, the smell of cinnamon and nutmeg wafted in from her mom's kitchen. But something else caught her attention. Across the yard, old Mr. Thompson sat on his porch, his worn hands cradling a steaming mug. He was alone, lost in thoughts only the rustling leaves seemed to whisper. She remembered hearing her parents say he had no family nearby, a veteran from a distant war whose laughter now faded beneath the weight of memories. What if no one celebrated his birthday? A wave of sadness washed over her. Lily's earnest brown eyes sparkled with a determination that only a 10-year-old could muster. That very moment, she decided, Mr. Thompson would have the birthday party he deserved. She ran to her friends, bubbling with excitement. But their indifferent responses chilled her spirited heart. "He's just an old soldier, Lily," Julie said, shrugging. "What does it matter?" It hurt to see someone dismiss the man who had fought for their country, yet hope flickered inside her. With her meager allowance, she bought streamers and balloons, squeezing every penny for the sake of kindness. The idea took root as she meticulously planned the details of the surprise party. Invitations were scribbled on loose-leaf paper, each one carefully hand-delivered to neighbors. But the responses echoed with the same skepticism as before. Some even whispered about how loud and rambunctious the party would be for an old man who just didn't fit in anymore. As days passed, Lily learned about the deeper shadows Mr. Thompson battled, memories of comrades lost, haunting images that etched lines on his brow. She couldn't shake the feeling that her small gesture of kindness was a thread connecting their lives. With the day looming closer, a mixture of excitement and nervous uncertainty gripped her. What if no one showed up? What if she failed to bring happiness to the man who had sacrificed so much? The stakes felt higher than ever. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Finally, the day arrived, a sunny, bright morning drenched in hope. Lily's heart pounded as she glanced at the clock. What would happen when Mr. Thompson opened the door? Would her neighbors rally together? As guests began to trickle in, warmth shot through her. Laughter filled the air, stirring a sense of community. But the moment was cruelly interrupted when Mr. Thompson stumbled upon his surprise. And with his arrival came the truth of his past. A wave of emotions crashed, and doubts flickered within the crowd. Stunned silence draped over them, as a friend of Mr. Thompson whispered about the bonds of brotherhood lost in war, friendships severed by tragedy. Lily's heart ached for the years of isolation he had carried. Could this really be the moment to reveal kindness in a world hardened by indifference? As she gazed into Mr. Thompson's misty eyes, she realized, was this one party enough to mend the invisible rifts in their community's heart? Mr. Thompson stood frozen at the edge of the porch, his breath hitching as he took in the decorations, balloons swaying, streamers fluttering in the crisp breeze, and the faces of his neighbors, etched in surprise and unease. Lily's heart raced, her palms sweaty as if to clutch the moment and make it perfect. She stepped forward, her voice breaking the awkward silence that shrouded them. "Mr. Thompson, we wanted to surprise you. It's your birthday, and we thought you might like a party." Mr. Thompson's eyes flickered with uncertainty. "A birthday? I didn't even remember," he stammered, glancing around at the neighbors who had, until now, kept their distance. The warmth of the celebration clashed against the chill of his isolation. Lily bit her lip, willing the uncertainty from his expression to meld away into something brighter. "It's not too late. You still have us," she gestured to the group. "And we want to celebrate you." A cough here, a nervous laugh there. Even the kids who had giggled beside her earlier fell silent, unsure of how to bridge the wide gulf formed over years of silence and absence. Just then, Mrs. Johnson, who had always baked the neighborhood's best pies, stepped forward, a pie held firmly in her hands, crust golden brown and warming the air with a homey scent. "I made this for you, Mr. Thompson," she said softly, though her voice carried the strength of hope. "I thought you might enjoy it. It's your favorite, isn't it?" Lily watched as the old man's posture relaxed a fraction, even as he hesitated, eyes moistening. The promise of connection hung heavy in the air. Hope, like the afternoon sun, warmed their hearts when Mrs. Johnson persisted. "No man is an island, right? You're part of this community, and we want you with us." The words struck a chord, resonating deep within him. Mr. Thompson stepped off the porch and approached, shuffling slowly but determinedly. It felt as if barriers were beginning to fracture even as Lily clutched her hands together, anticipation dancing in her eyes. The first smile appeared, a crack in his stoic demeanor, revealing the ghost of joy that hadn't graced his face in years. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice a gravelly whisper. "Thank you all." Lily's heart soared. This was why she had done everything for him. Neighbors shared stories of the past, remembering the soldier who fought tirelessly for their freedom and respect. Each laugh echoed around them, building a bridge of connections that had long been overlooked. As they stole moments of joy, the walls Mr. Thompson had created around himself began to crumble. But as stories flowed, Lily noticed the shadows creeping back into Mr. Thompson's eyes. The weight of memories tugged at him even in this moment of happiness. She felt a sinking sensation, as if a handsomely wrapped package of hope hiding deep inside fragile layers of smiles was still not enough. When Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, raising a hand gently, Lily sensed something unspoken was coming. "I appreciate this," he said quietly, his voice trembling with reflections of the past. "But deep inside, I fear that." He paused, taking a breath that felt heavier than the air hanging around them. All eyes turned towards him, curiosity and concern intertwining as they awaited the shadow that would be cast by his next words. What truth was he about to reveal? Would it bring them together or shatter the fragile unity they had just begun to build? For Lily, the stakes had never felt higher. The question gnawed at her: could kindness really heal wounds that ran so deep? As she locked eyes with Mr. Thompson, she knew this moment would change everything. Mr. Thompson hesitated, his mind racing through the memories that shaped him, each one sharp and stinging like ice on a winter morning. The laughter of the neighbors faded into the background, and for a moment, all he heard was the steady pulse of his own heart. It felt as if the weight of years rested on his chest, threatening to crush him under its burden. "What I fear," he started, his voice barely rising above a whisper, "is that I'm too late. Too late to mend what has been broken. Too late to reconnect." The shadows danced in his eyes, and Lily felt her own heart tighten at the anguish reflected there. She could sense the collective breath being held, like an elastic band pulled tight. "But it's not too late," Mrs. Johnson interjected, stepping closer, placing the pie on a nearby table, a testament to home and belonging. "You're here now. We're all here now." Mr. Thompson loomed over the gathering, his formidable presence softened by the concern written on the faces of those around him. They were his neighbors, familiar yet distant. Years spent in silence don't just fade away, you know. Sometimes, the scars, he choked on the word, moments slipping through his fingers like sand. Scars are reminders of battles fought, but they can heal. It was Lily who boldly stepped forward, her tiny frame emanating an unwavering belief that caused a ripple of acknowledgement among the group. "Your scars tell a story, Mr. Thompson, and we want to hear it." The vulnerability in her voice broke through the fog of his despair. With her courage, she sparked something inside him, a flicker of willingness to share the heavier parts of his heart. "I lost people, friends," he confessed, his throat tightening as he spoke, "in wars, in fights for our country. And when they were gone, I convinced myself I could survive on my own. Everyone expects us to be strong," Mr. Thompson continued, noticing people leaning in closer, their faces carved with empathy and understanding. "But sometimes it's okay to ask for help, to let others in." His words hung in the air, an unsteady bridge forming between past solitude and present connection. He noticed the tears in Mrs. Johnson's eyes and the warmth with which Lily regarded him, a mixture of compassion and hope that drove back the shadows lurking in the corners of his mind. The atmosphere lightened as laughter started to return, but this time tinged with something deeper, a shared understanding. "I can't bring them back," he finally said, his voice carrying the weight of grief and acceptance intertwined, but maybe I can find a way to honor them by living fully again. Here, with you. The air shimmered with the promise of new beginnings. For the first time in years, Mr. Thompson smiled an actual, wide smile. It felt strange, yet liberating, like unfurling wings ready to take flight. Children began to bounce around, bringing life back to the yard as shouts of joy erupted. The neighbors offered stories, not just of sorrow but of brighter days, old and new. Lily laughed with the others, her heart bursting with warmth. She had crossed a threshold today, but she wondered, would Mr. Thompson find it in himself to embrace the yearning for camaraderie? Would uncertainty fade along with the lingering shadows? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the gathering, she turned to Mr. Thompson, her voice small yet clear. So will you join us in the future? We'll keep celebrating you. He looked at her, something lighting up in his eyes, a spark that had long been extinguished. The question hung between them, powerful and unyielding. Would he say yes? Would he choose to step into the light instead of retreating back into the darkness? Lily held her breath, waiting to see if this was just the beginning of healing or if the journey would still be undone. The pause stretched on, leaving everyone momentarily breathless. Mr. Thompson was the anchor in their midst, an elder who had seen too much yet stood at a crossroads so many others had faced. As the laughter of children mingled with the soft rustling of leaves, the peaceful scene was punctuated by the heavy weight of his indecision. Finally, he exhaled, a long, slow breath that seemed to carry years of solitude away. He cleared his throat, the words still trapped somewhere between fear and hope. I would like that. A cheer erupted, breaking the tension that had gripped the group. Lily beamed, her eyes sparkling with joy, radiating light that handcuffed the shadows lingering in Mr. Thompson's heart. Laughter rang out like music, a sound that filled the air with warmth, wrapping them in a comforting embrace. You won't regret it, Mrs. Johnson said, wrapping Mr. Thompson in a side hug, her warmth palpable like the golden sun above. We'll figure this out together. With a hesitant smile, Mr. Thompson felt as though the weight that had sat atop his chest had lifted, replaced with a stirring excitement that had lain dormant for years. Children ran past, their giggles dancing in the air as they played tag. Their innocence tugged at him, a bittersweet reminder of joy he had forgotten. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting everything in hues of orange and pink, Mr. Thompson felt a glimmer of hope rise within him. Could it be possible to build bridges, to patch over the cracks in his heart? Over the following days, they started to build a new kind of connection. Mr. Thompson could see the whispers of friendship in the children's eyes, the way they awaited his stories with eager anticipation. Each time he stepped onto his porch, he could feel the pull of community, the warmth that existed when people dared to share their lives openly. He began to share tales of bravery, of camaraderie, stories that resonated with truth and laughter. The neighbors came more often, holding backyard gatherings that felt less like responsibilities and more like woven threads binding them all together. Then one day, as they sat around a blazing fire, the crackle of the flames breaking the night's silence, Lily approached him with a small, wrapped package. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, her bounce echoing the forward motion of the group. This is for you, Mr. Thompson. Curious glances turned towards him as he accepted the gift. Carefully peeling away the paper, he uncovered a handmade birthday card decorated with crayon drawings. You're part of our family now, Lily proclaimed with a grin. The heartfelt words tore through the walls he had fortified around his heart. Mr. Thompson's throat tightened. Astonished, he blinked back tears. You guys didn't have to, but we wanted to. Lily hopped, her enthusiasm infectious. You're not alone anymore. We're all in this together. As the warmth from the fire flickered shadows on the walls of his home, he realized the world he had built in isolation was crumbling. In its place was a new one full of love, laughter, and life. What do I do now? He murmured, the echoes of uncertainty threatening to resurface. He hadn't anticipated this sense of belonging. Just stay with us, Lily encouraged, her voice innocent yet powerful. You're going to find more than you ever thought possible. Together. As the night wrapped around them, Mr. Thompson felt he stood on the edge of something monumental. Would he catch the first taste of belonging that had seemed elusive for so long? Would he allow himself to become the man Lily and the neighborhood believed he could be? Little did he know the depths of change that awaited him just beyond the horizon, a transformation that came wrapped in courage, community, and the unwavering heart of a child. Would Mr. Thompson embrace this second chance, or would he falter when faced with the unexpected trials that lay ahead? Days turned into warm, radiant weeks, each one more vibrant than the last. In this little neighborhood, where laughter now flowed freely, Mr. Thompson found himself caught up in a rhythm he had forgotten. He became the storyteller, the gentle giant who captivated the children's imaginations with worlds where heroes conquered darkness and laughter blossomed into light. But deep inside, a whisper of doubt lingered. Could he really be the man they all wanted him to be? Each night as he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the shadows still whispered of his past, a past filled with loss and choices that had cost him dearly. But each day, he donned a brighter mask, one that Lily and the others had gifted him. "Just stay with us," she had said, and that's what he did. One morning, he was awoken to the melodic chirping of birds outside his window. Spring brought with it a new sense of vigor, and he felt it humming through the very fibers of his being. The day held promise. He stood up, pulled on his favorite old sweater, and made his way down to the kitchen, where the smell of fresh coffee and pancakes awaited him. As he sat at the table, a softness settled around him, comforted by the sounds of fluttering leaves and the faint giggles of children playing outside. His heart swelled with the simplest joy. Today, however, was special, not just because of the bright morning or the laughter, but because it marked the first birthday he would celebrate with this newfound family. Suddenly, a knock on the door broke through his reverie. He opened it to find Mrs. Johnson, her arms full of colorful balloons and a cake perched carefully on a platter. "Surprise!" she exclaimed, her smile so wide it seemed to light the entire street. "Happy birthday!" chorused the children, bursting from behind her like a confetti explosion. Mr. Thompson felt his chest tighten. This wasn't just a birthday celebration. It was a declaration, a promise that he was no longer alone. Overwhelmed by the outpouring of love, he stood frozen, but the children tugged at his hands, pulling him outside. The yard was transformed. Balloons danced in the breeze, and games were set up under a canopy of cheerful streamers. Laughter rang out as Lily led a group of children in a spirited game of duck, duck, goose. While they played, he took a moment to step away, allowing the scene to wash over him. Their unfiltered joy made him smile, but a flicker of panic danced in the back of his mind. What if he didn't deserve this? What if, in the end, they saw through the facade he built and turned away? As if sensing his hesitation, Lily broke away from the group and approached him. "Mr. Thompson, come play?" she urged, eyes shining with excitement. "We're having so much fun. You can't miss out." "I'm too old to play games like you," he chuckled nervously. Her response was instant and unwavering. "You're never too old. Just be with us. That's what matters." In that moment, it clicked. Here was the truth. Belonging is not about age or past mistakes. It is about opening your heart, letting others in. Battle-worn but hopeful, Mr. Thompson nodded. Before he knew it, he found himself kneeling beside Lily, his laughter rising to melt any lingering shadows within. As the sun began its slow descent, casting a golden glow over the celebration, Mr. Thompson felt a rush of warmth envelop him. Love, laughter, and community encircled him, a bittersweet reminder that he was not just living, he was thriving. Yet, as the day drifted into night and the fire crackled back to life, a distant sound gnawed at him. It was there again, a faint echo of his past, murmuring of uncertainties and unfinished business. He had opened his heart, but what would happen when it was time to face those lingering shadows? As the flames danced, Mr. Thompson's breath hitched. The moment he had fought so hard for seemed almost within reach, yet darkness still flickered on the edges. Would the community he had come to cherish still accept him once they discovered the weight of his past? Would he find the courage to confront it, or was he just delaying the inevitable? And as that thought sank in, Mr. Thompson's heart raced. A bittersweet tension hung in the air. What lay in store for him next? The laughter and chatter of the children filled the air, a joyful symphony that tugged at Mr. Thompson's heart. Yet, beneath the surface, the weight of his thoughts loomed like dark clouds, threatening to overshadow the celebration. As shadows lengthened with the setting sun, he found himself withdrawn, gazing into the flickering flames. "Hey, Mr. Thompson," Lily's voice broke through his reverie. He turned to find her standing beside him, a cheeky smile plastered across her face, holding a piece of cake so big it almost toppled over in her tiny hands. "You have to try this. It's the best cake ever." He chuckled, the warmth of her enthusiasm dissolving some of his worries. "All right, if you say so." He reached for the offered treat, the sweetness reminding him of simpler times. As he tasted it, the familiar flavor melted away a fraction of his anxiety, the icing soft and comforting. "Mrs. Johnson baked it. She said it's a family recipe," she beamed. "I can see why," he replied, trying to muster a smile that he hoped felt genuine. Just then, a few of the children began circling around them, drawn by Lily's call for games. Mr. Thompson glanced up and noticed their eager faces, eyes shining with anticipation. The shadows of his past felt heavy now, concealing the man he wanted to be. When had he decided to hide in the corners? "Mr. Thompson, come on," one of the boys shouted, pulling at the cuff of his sweater. "Yeah, play with us. We want to show you our best moves." Another echoed. He felt that familiar flutter of fear. What if he stumbled? What if they laughed at him, not with him? But the joy in their eyes, the hope and laughter, created a crack in his armor. With a pang in his chest, he realized he had a choice to make. All right, he relented, standing up slowly. The moment he joined in, a rush of exhilaration washed over him like a wave. They played tag, and the crisp night air filled with laughter bounced off the trees. For the first time in years, he felt alive, truly alive. As the games wound down and darkness settled in, they clustered together like bright stars in the night sky, sharing stories and dreams by the fire. He listened intently as Lily spoke of wanting to be an astronaut. Her imagination soared farther than he ever dreamed. "Mr. Thompson, what did you want to be when you were my age?" she asked, peering at him with eyes wide and curious, like she was searching for a piece of a dream. The question struck him deeper than he expected, forcing memories and regrets to bubble to the surface. He had wanted to be a writer, capturing tales that danced between the pages, much like the children before him. But as time wore on, life as challenges led him down a different path. "I wanted to tell stories, Lily. But then life happened," he admitted, his voice softer. Lily's brow furrowed, understanding flickering in her bright gaze. "You can tell stories now. You do it all the time. You don't have to stop because of what has happened." Her words hung in the air, full of courage and truth. A lump rose in his throat. Maybe, just maybe, he could reclaim that dream nestled deep inside him. But would the shadows still follow him, or could they finally be laid to rest? As the evening deepened and the last of the cake was forgotten, Mr. Thompson gazed into the fire's glow, the warmth of community intertwining with his hope. Was it really possible to step forward again from the weight of the past? The crackling fire seemed to echo his uncertainty, throwing sparks into the night, each one a question. Would he find the strength to face those shadows? Would Lily and the children welcome him with open arms if he dared to share his truth? All he knew was that the journey ahead was uncertain, and as daunting as it seemed, the steadfast lights of this neighborhood flickered in the darkness, reminding him he was not alone. And with that thought, a thrilling possibility began to bloom within him, the prospect that tomorrow could hold new beginnings. But was he truly ready to confront the past? The first light of dawn crawled into Mr. Thompson's small living room, casting soft shadows that danced across the walls. Today was his birthday. Less than a decade ago, that meant flapjacks piled high, laughter ringing through his house, and cards piled high on the table. But now, the day crept in quietly, lacking any of the excitement or celebration he once cherished. He stretched and tried to shake off the weight of the day. Anniversary or not, it was time to step out of the house. The children at the park were expecting him, especially after the warmth they shared by the fire the night before. He made a mental note to push through the lingering shadows clinging to him. As he arrived, the park greeted him with a familiar buzz. Children were scattered across the lush grass, shouting with glee. Lily spotted him first and ran over, her ponytail swinging with every step. "Mr. Thompson, we saved you a spot." That little spark inside him flickered brightly. The weight of his solitude began to ease as laughter erupted around him. He joined in, immediately caught into their world of play. The first game of dodgeball had him sprinting and diving in ways he hadn't thought possible. Each hit and jab of laughter peeled layers of heaviness from his heart. "Watch this." shouted a boy named Ben, attempting a cartwheel. He wobbled, arms flailing, and the sight sent the group into fits of laughter. Okay, maybe I'm not ready for the Olympics just yet, he grinned, earning whoops from his friends. As Mr. Thompson watched, he couldn't help but smile. Who needed an Olympic medal when you had this joy? After an hour of play, they plopped down on the grass, breathless and grinning. Lily excitedly started asking questions again. Mr. Thompson, are you going to write a story about your birthday? He rubbed the back of his neck, thinking about the words he had buried for so long. Maybe if you and your friends help me come up with a good one, he suggested, a small flicker of excitement sparking in his chest. Yes, we could be characters in your story, like brave explorers. Lily jumped up, gesturing wildly as she described their imaginary adventures. All around them, the other kids chimed in with their ideas, filling the air with tales of dragons, treasures, and heroic feats. Each story meant something different to each of them, and in sharing, they reminded Mr. Thompson of the magic nestled deep within storytelling. As they were caught up in their shared world, the park's entrance ushered in a new arrival. Mrs. Johnson walked in carrying a colorful box, a warm smile greeting the children. "Happy birthday, Mr. Thompson," she called out, her kind voice cutting through their chatter. The bright box she carried held homemade cupcakes, decorated with colorful frosting that sparkled in the sunlight. A wave of gratitude surged through him. "You didn't have to do this, but you are part of this community. Your presence makes it brighter. We wanted to celebrate you," she said, placing the box down. The children clapped cheerfully, and for a moment, the shadows of doubt faded away. As he accepted a cupcake from the box, Lily stood beside him, her bright eyes alight with anticipation. "Can we decorate the cupcakes now? And we can name them too. Mine will be Lily's magical rainbow surprise." In the midst of decorating, laughter erupted again. The children eagerly adorned their treats with sprinkles and colorful candies, each watching proudly as they created edible masterpieces. Mr. Thompson felt as if the day was transforming into something greater than mere celebration. It was a reaffirmation of connection, purpose, and belonging. But just when he thought he'd reached a point of joyous comfort, a question lingered. "Mr. Thompson," came Lily's voice again, quieter now, "what happens next? What is your story gonna be?" Her innocent query struck deep, urging him to reflect on the path ahead. The laughter surrounding him felt fragile in that moment. Did he have a story worth sharing? Would they want to know more? As he looked into their eager faces, he felt that familiar flutter of uncertainty grasp at him. It was a crossroads, a decision point waiting to explode into something beautiful or unfamiliar. The cupcakes were a beginning, but would he be brave enough to explore the rest of the tale? With his heart pounding in tandem with the rustle of grass beneath him, he breathed in, recognizing the weight of possibility. Tomorrow might not be just another birthday, but the dawn of a new chapter. Was he ready to write it? Mr. Thompson felt the warmth of the sun wrapped around him, a gentle reminder that life still held beauty. As laughter bubbled up all around, the weight of his earlier doubts started to lift. The children's enthusiasm for decorating cupcakes had drawn him into a vibrant world where imagination thrived and possibilities were endless. "Okay, everyone, let us see what you've created," he announced, trying to inject as much cheer as he could into his voice. Numbering the cupcakes, he began a playful contest to see whose decoration was the most colorful or creative. As they presented their sugary treats, each child beamed with pride, their innocence shining through the sprinkles and frosting. "Look at mine. It's a treasure chest," shouted Ben, holding up a gleaming confection covered in gold sprinkles. "And it's filled with candy jewels." The kids erupted in cheers, and Ben soaked in their admiration, the laughter echoing in harmony. Lily, however, didn't wait for her turn. "Mr. Thompson," she squealed, waving a cupcake topped with a crown of edible glitter. "Mine's the sparkliest. It's like a star." Her enthusiasm ignited something deep within him, a flicker of inspiration he and felt in years. As the sun climbed higher, Mr. Thompson felt the hesitations begin to slip away. "You know, kids, cupcakes make great stories too," he said, his voice steadier. "Every flavor, every sprinkle, it all tells a tale. What if we made a book, where each of these cupcakes represents an adventure?" The children erupted into excited chatter, each shouting out ideas. "A cupcake can be a pirate ship," What if this one is a rocket flying to the moon? They were bubbling with creativity, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, and he could hardly keep up. His heart raced with renewed energy. And you know what? Just like these colorful cupcakes, our stories can be filled with surprises and treasures. They can change shapes and create new paths, just like us, he added, realizing how true those words really were. However, through the joy, an undercurrent of uncertainty flowed back in. Was he truly ready to share his own story? A story about loss and recovery that felt heavy and confusing to navigate? He stole a glance at Lily, who was sprinkling more sparkles on her cupcake. The innocence in her wide eyes reminded him that the simplest joys often birth the most profound truths. One of the other children, a shy girl named Ella, raised her hand slowly. "Mr. Thompson, why do you stop writing? You should do it again." Her question, simple yet piercing, hung in the air. The children turned to stare, their eyes filled with earnest concern, compelling him to confront his past. The laughter quieted as the weight of her words settled around them. "Yeah, Mr. Thompson, we want to know your story," they chimed in unison. The warmth of their support enveloped him, but it also tugged at a part of him that had been dormant for far too long. He felt an urge to share, to finally reveal the truths hidden in his heart. Maybe it's time for the cupcakes to lead the way, he thought. Just as he prepared to speak, the familiar sound of a distant siren cut through the park's air, drawing his attention. "Once, I wrote about a brave knight," he began. The thrill of storytelling ignited his spirit, filling him with new purpose. But as tales blurred together, he could almost feel that fragile thread of reality shaking beneath him. What would he uncover in the journey through his own past? And so, with eager faces surrounding him, the question lingered in the air, whispering uncertainty and excitement all at once. Would he summon the courage to face his deeper truths, or would he shy away from what was waiting to be revealed? "Once, I wrote about a brave knight," Mr. Thompson's voice hung in the air, a gentle invitation into a world of imagination. The children leaned in, eyes wide, their lives filled with sugar and sprinkles, ready for whatever tale he would weave. And this knight, he continued, was not just brave, he was kind. He traveled through enchanted forests and crossed raging rivers, all to help those in need. But what didn't he know was that he also had a story of his own to uncover. As he spoke, he could see the children's faces transform with excitement. Their imaginations sparked into a blaze. "Maybe the knight is afraid," piped up Ben, his own cupcake now forgotten in his tiny hands. "He has to face a dragon that's actually really sad." The others gasped in delight, leaning together, their whispers a harmony of ideas. "Yes, exactly," Mr. Thompson encouraged, feeling that warmth spread in his chest. What if the dragon just needed a friend? Imagine the brave knight turning the fight into a friendship. That's how stories have the power to change things. The children's laughter melded with their chatter, and for a moment, it felt like a bubble of joy had encased them all. Yet Mr. Thompson's heart was a mix of emotions. Here he was, captivating young minds, while inside, his own story loomed like an uninvited guest. He inhaled sharply and glanced at Lily again. The spark in her eyes called to him, urged him to dive deeper into his own tale. "What about you, Mr. Thompson?" Ella's soft voice cut through the laughter, her tiny hand raised like she was asking a teacher for a turn. "What is your story?" The question hung thick around him, a swirl of sweetness from the cupcakes and a bittersweet sharpness from his memories. He felt countless eyes on him, each gaze filled with curiosity and that childlike wonder. Could he really share what lay heavy in his heart? The impulse to hide, to retreat back into silence, flickered like a candle flame, but there was something more potent at play: hope, fragile yet steady, nudging at him to be brave. Taking a deep breath, he gathered the courage to speak. "Well," he started, his voice a whisper as he looked into their expectant eyes, "once, it was my birthday. I was all alone. A feeling of being lost surrounded me." The children fell quiet. The festivity of cupcakes faded momentarily, replaced by the weight of his words. But then, he continued, his heart turning over in his chest, "A little girl knocked on my door. She had a cupcake in her hand, one she decorated herself, and she sang to me. That small act of kindness, it meant everything. It reminded me that I wasn't truly alone, that there's always light, even on the darkest days." The children's faces transformed, empathy stitching their brows together. Wow, what happened next? Lily asked, her voice laced with awe. I realized, he said slowly, that just like cupcakes, life can be sweet in unexpected ways. Sharing our stories, whether they're light or heavy, helps us connect with each other. He paused, taking in the mixture of emotions on their faces. Joy and sadness danced together in that moment, binding them. Now, he said, the determination growing in his heart, maybe we can all write a story together. Our very own book of adventure. Just like my birthday brought a surprise, we can surprise each other with adventures of our own. The children erupted into cheers, their innocence brightening the park like sunshine breaking through clouds. Mr. Thompson found himself smiling, swept away by their contagious excitement. But deep down, a new question had entered his mind. Would he truly be able to share the stories hidden in his heart, those related to loss and recovery, in a way that would allow others to find their own strength? The siren that had interrupted moments earlier sounded again, a reminder of chaos in the world outside this bubble of cupcakes and laughter. Would the peace of this moment last? Could storytelling be a guide out of darkness, for him and his newfound friends? As the kids began brainstorming titles for their book of tales, a new idea sparked in Mr. Thompson's mind. It was time to not only lead them in that endeavor, but also to explore the depths of his own journey. What would he discover about himself next? Weeks turned into a cascade of colors, vivid spring greens blending into the soft pastels of summer. Mr. Thompson's heart filled with joy as the neighborhood bloomed with laughter and play. The idea of writing a collective story together had sparked new life, not only in him, but in the community that had grown around him. Every Saturday, children gathered on his porch armed with papers, pencils, and unending enthusiasm for their shared adventure. They spun tales of daring knights, mysterious wizards, and fearless dragons, crafting a tapestry of imagination that enveloped them all. Laughter mingled with the soft breezes, soothing the remnants of scars etched in Mr. Thompson's heart. But more than creating a storybook, this project had created a family. Mr. Thompson's porch transformed into a haven where memories and dreams collided, creating a new kind of magic. One particular Saturday, Lily burst through the door, her hair bouncing wildly as she clutched a paper in her small hands. Mr. Thompson, I wrote a story about you. Her eyes glinted with excitement, and Mr. Thompson felt his pulse quicken. Really? Tell me more. He encouraged, heart swelling. It's about a knight who was once sad, but found joy in helping others, she said eagerly. And he learned that true treasure wasn't gold, but the friendships he built along the way. Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket. He recognized the reflection of his own journey within her tale. That sounds wonderful, Lily, he replied, feeling how far he had come since that lonely birthday. But before he could bask in those warm feelings, Lily continued, and I wrote about how you help us too. You tell us stories, teach us to be brave, just like you were. They had all taken on roles. The brave knight was no longer just a figment of imagination, but a symbol of Mr. Thompson himself, bared before this lively group of kids who had slowly broken away every layer he had shielded himself with. Yet, an ember of doubt flickered at the back of his mind. Could he actually embrace the lessons he'd been teaching? Could he really let go of the fears that remained, clinging like shadows in the dark corners of his thoughts? Each session that passed nudged him nearer to a deeper understanding of himself. But there was still more stories buried beneath the laughter. As their book began to take shape with vivid illustrations and heartfelt contributions, a flash of vulnerability struck. Kids, he hesitated during one of their gatherings. I have a story too, a story about my past is tangled with loss and hope. The room fell silent. Every eager gaze turned thoughtful as they leaned in. Their unwavering support surged through him, giving him the courage he had lacked for so long. I lost friends in the war, he began, finding the words stuck in his throat, each one critical and rewarding at the same time. Friends who fought side by side with me. For years, I hid from the memories, thinking I had to face it all alone. Lily reached out, her hand finding his. But you're not alone anymore, she said softly, grounding him in her unwavering belief. He nodded, and suddenly he was no longer just sharing his past. He was sharing steps towards healing. But I've learned that there is strength in leaning on others, allowing them to see your scars while finding beauty in vulnerability. Slowly, expressions of understanding began to emerge among the children. "We're here for you, Mr. Thompson," Ben chimed in, his voice resolute. "You helped us. We want to help you too." Tears stung his eyes. Their innocence, their willingness to listen and be present, created a wave of healing bubbling from deep within. He took a deep breath, realizing that what stood before him was not merely a gathering of children or a storybook, but a family forged through shared journeys. "Together, we can write a new chapter," he said, finding strength in the urgency of their unconditional support. A story of hope, connection, learning, and courage. As they all joined hands, each child's heart radiating brilliance, he realized this was not just about him anymore. It was about weaving their shared experiences into something larger, a collective story that would ripple through their lives, touching not only the community, but also the world around them. As the warmth of the summer sun began to set, their hearts brimmed with reassurance. This journey, this bond would create a legacy of love, one that would thrive in minds and memories long after they wrote the last word. The cupcakes had indeed led the way, transforming loneliness into companionship, shadows into light, and uncertainty into the promise of tomorrow. And as they sat together, Mr. Thompson knew with certainty this story was only just beginning. Now, dear audience, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss exclusive stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread these tales of hope. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let's hear how it resonated with you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support can help create a world filled with kindness and connection together. Let's inspire others.